after you because of this family. They see it. They see you and that little bastard and they laugh. And you don't believe in me. And you see what happens? Huh? You see what happens? You don't believe in me. Shut up.
Stop it!
What are you gonna do with that, fatty? Huh? Huh? That's what I thought. You believe this kid? He gets that shit from you.
Keep kicking him! Keep kicking him! Keep kicking him! Keep kicking him!
It's okay, Mommy. It's alright. It's alright, baby. It's alright. Shh. It's alright, baby. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Realized that I was jerking off to dudes and not girls. And that's when things got really, really, really bad. Not only is there a military takeover happening, not only is my home filled with demons, but my son is queer. And it was probably about a week, if not 3, where he knew. And he took away all my stuff and he's like, I'm going to sit here until you confess it to me. What you did. And I played dumb for about, 3 weeks, I think it was. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry I took my tablet to school. Don't understand why you're so upset. When can I get it back? That was about the time that Caitlyn Jenner was transitioning Woman of the Year. And people in those circles were getting very, very pissed off with that type of rhetoric. So we would go to H-E-B and different stores, and every single time, these queers, these trannies, these faggots, always had a comment to make. It was like the universe brought every single gay person out in town, because it was just like every day he was just pointing out all these gay people. Going to fucking hell. Should fucking shoot them right now. Fucking failed them. And I'm just sitting here like still like a soldier in a fucking interrogation, just like, not gonna say. And still didn't. And he was getting angrier and angrier by the day that I wouldn't break. And at the time we lived, like I said, the tattoo shop was in our house. It was in the garage. And my stepmother, love her to death, could not say no to fucking cats. So we had close to 15 cats running in the house. Most of them being little kittens, kind of in and out. But you can imagine the shit box gets pretty full pretty fast. And sometimes it would get so full that by the time I'd even get home, it was filled up again. So he was mad at me when I walked through the door. Why is the shit box not clean? Well, I cleaned it this morning. I literally just walked through the door, back and forth like, no, you're lazy. You don't do it. I needed this to be done. And I have clients in there. And I remember just throwing down a plate because I was doing dishes at the time. And just being like, why don't you fucking do it for once? I was grabbed by my shirt, pinned against the refrigerator. It slammed back and jolted. Everything fell off. Some of the things hit me in the head. Held me there, started threatening me. He had a couple of clients, one of who I think was mid-tattoo. They were staring in like, what the fuck is happening right now? Why is he attacking this kid? Left without even getting the tattoo wrapped or finished up. They were like gone. And I was just like, I have to go. I had been plotting a lot that I'll go into in a minute. But I was like, I need to get out right now. This has gone too far. So I try to make my way to the bedroom while he's clawing me and hitting me. And I go in to try to get my wallet and what little bit of money that I have left so that I can bolt town. And my phone. and there's a struggle in the room. He winds up throwing me into the mirror of my bedroom, and I wound up breaking the mirror outwards. I was leaning on the curtain, wound up getting back up. He threw himself onto the ground like a gorilla, had to like hold him down, grapple, jump on over him. He ripped the shirt that I was wearing. I think it's my Iron Man shirt. Really like that shirt. Halfway off my body. And so I'm bloodied. I don't even think I had shoes. And I finally made my way out of the house after he threw me through the front door, because he managed to get a push on me there too. I think I broke the screen door, maybe shattered the windows there too. And I'm walking down the road, and I get a block away. He's, get back here. Get the hell back here. And then the emotions would change. Son, I'm sorry. Come back. No, I'm not coming back. You fucking piece of shit. And I'm just like, I gotta walk to the police station, which is probably about 2 or 3 miles up the road, hoping that he doesn't track me down. So I go to the police station, and I'm in tears. They're in torn up clothes, and an officer helps me out. And she's like, all right, sweetie, we're going to go. We're going to get your stuff back, and we're going to get this figured out for you. God bless this woman. I should have never said fuck the police. Ever. So she gets there. My dad's going off. Sir, we're here so that this boy can get his property back. He looks down at me. You brought the law to my house, boy. Sir, you need to calm down. Listen here, sweetie. Sir? Oh, I love this moment. Put her hand on her gun, put her hand up. You need to back up. I am not sweetie, I am ma'am. Now this is what we're going to do. And she helped me get my shit back. I had other ways that I had thought about getting out of the house. There were some thoughts I had of maybe being able to run away. There was one person I knew, I believe his name was Marvin, nice kid. I had talked to him about potentially driving me out of town, potentially to Houston, dropping me off downtown, and if I gotta be homeless, I'll be homeless. I thought maybe I could like hitchhike back home, show how bad it was by showing up on their doorstep and being like, hey, I'm back, like, I need you, I need your help. And then there's the other option, which I pondered a lot more deeply than I care to admit. And I thought I could kill him. I thought that if he died, that this guy would cause so much shit in town that the police wouldn't care to investigate it any further if it were done under certain conditions. I figured with the amount of threats that he had made towards people that he was going to wind up killing someone anyways. So maybe I'd be doing the world a favor. There's, of course, the thought of, well, I've been wanting to kill myself this whole time. Put down a dog with my own hands. Pull up the thumbnail for that video for those who haven't heard it, because I don't think I can go into that one right now. I don't talk about that one a lot. But that's how I thought of him at that time. You're a dog that needs to be put down. My thought was that there was a hole in the back of the garage that connected to the dryer and the washer, and that the garage's walls were made of wood. And that if I could create a trail of litter mixed in with lint and things that would catch fire from the outside, that maybe I could make it seem like maybe, I don't know, the neighbor had come and smoked a cigarette and thrown it over and it had burned. Like, there was holes in the plan. It wouldn't have gone great. But I thought, if I could just burn this bitch down, Even if he lives, he'd have nowhere to house me. But then my stepmother was a saving grace, I think, in that, because I wouldn't want anything to happen to her. Because she was getting abused too, in a lot of ways. A lot of ways. She's got more fucked up stories than I do. These are just the ones I care about sharing publicly too. There's stories that will never be shared on this channel because realistically it would result in more blood, trauma, and potentially even death. But I thought really hard about that for a long time. I shared a video recently on one of the Triple B MP3s. It's a song by Skitz Kraven called Momma's Husband. And that was it. Right down to that kid's wall being all tacked up with all stuff, a giant Watchman smiley face, which is funny enough, the icon of the symbol on my channel. It wasn't just the preservation of myself, it felt like the preservation of others. He's going to kill my family. Thankfully, I didn't wind up doing that, and I wound up going to stay with my grandmother, who she lived out of town, probably about 45 minutes away, so still close. It was very uneasy. There was a lot of tension back and forth because of this. But come the last week of school, because this was about 3 weeks from graduation, so that was a big reason she took me into. She's just like, you know, sweetie, just finish graduation. Get that piece of paper. Don't let him rob you of this. And there's still, I have dreams about it too. I think there's still some sort of internal regret that I didn't drop out and go earlier to save myself. But then I'm also simultaneously glad that my stepmother and my grandmother's support helped push me through that. But I do have dreams where I decide to run away from Yoakum and drop out. I think in my head that maybe that's one of those life moments that feels like life could have been different, but I'll never know. But last week of school comes. My father, being the narcissistic personality that he was, you know, one of the reasons I wasn't allowed to have friends or mentors or anything like this was because it would take attention away from him. He envied that. So whenever I began working in writing these after school writing programs for like UIL, which is like, you know, high school academics, you go, you try to write, win awards, that type of thing. I started doing this and was really excited to do this because reading was something I enjoyed. Writing was something that I wanted to get better at. And he was accusing me of fucking my teacher. I go to this room surrounded by all these other kids, and we're learning about verbs and adjectives and summary structures and synopsis and all the standard English shit. Make sure we got that on point for when we go out of town to do our little event. Maybe have some pizza or McDonald's at lunch. The only extracurricular activity I was involved with. Like, and I guess in my absence, this just kept getting fueled. That faggot teacher's fucking my son. That faggot teacher's fucking my son. That faggot teacher's fucking my son. So he began issuing threats that he was going to shoot up my classroom. He was going to take out that teacher and anybody who stood in his way. So he had to talk to the principal about this. He was banned from graduation. They were trying to get law enforcement involved with it to some degree, but fell through. But I remember it was like the last day of school, I think it was. Just walking through the hallways, surrounded by all my peers, everyone I'm in school with. And we get an announcement in the hallway, which never happens. Attention all students. Mr. Turk's class will now be held on the second story of the main building in room so-and-so. Sorry for any inconvenience. And I just remember looking around and everything went slow motion and I could see everybody's individual faces react to that moment of, why? That's weird. What happened to Mr. Turk? Did something happen to his room? And I couldn't say shit. And I remember being so apologetic to him. Such a good man. He was just like, kid, this isn't your fault. But day after graduation, I went to go live in Waco with my aunt and my cousins. And I got out. And cyber stalking began. My online presence was always being monitored. I was being called from different numbers. I began receiving death threats from various different accounts that had just been created with different names. There were people in town who he chose to start fights with on my behalf, such as a pedophile who was sleeping with a girl who was my ex after like 2 or 3 weeks of like a, you know, little high school kid relationship that didn't even amount to sex. It was just awkward. But I treated her like shit. And she ultimately wound up turning to a pedophile. Um, for comfort and for a relationship. And my father had at one point picked a fight with this individual, and I think began kind of reactivating that in him a little bit. So I noticed different people in town were sending me different weird messages, but then a lot of the time it was him. I know where you live. If you ever come back here, we'll cut you up. We'll do this. You can never get away. All this shit. He began going on all my friends' accounts, all my family. He began to use accounts with his names, with pseudonames. Um, and this happened for years and years and years and years. And it's still happening to some degree. It still happens with my stepmom. He still tortures all the women he's ever been with. He's been with 3 separate women that have been like core relationships in his life, and more than that technically, but every single woman or child that's come into his life, they run away as far away from possible. And we all share this um we all share this quirk that we all have dreams that we're being kidnapped, killed, or buried by this man. And until the day he's dead, we're still going to live in fear of that. We all agree it's going to be a really good day. But I remember I wasn't dealing with it well. Once I got to Waco, I was popping a lot of pills, Xanax, fucking Oxycontin, fucking drinking a lot, starting to get really heavy into smoking pot. Cocaine was around occasionally. I was going to school at this time because my aunt said you have to go to college if you're going to be here. So I went to a community college for a little bit, but college structure was just shit. I wasn't doing anything I loved doing. I pretty soon just started dropping out to go do drugs and read books like, over by the lake. And but the stalking kept continuing, and the anger and the frustration that built up, because it was me that would invite it back in. I'd be like, hey, I'm feeling, maybe I fucked up, right? Because I'm so twisted. Maybe this was all my fault. So, hey, Dad, I love you. I'm sorry. How have you been? Which would then just ultimately spiral. It's happened multiple times. But I don't know if this is the first or second time that the blowups happened in Waco, because there's 2 main ones. But I think the first one was actually this one. So, I hate these stories. He's going off the deep end, and he's sending all these threats to everybody. Everybody's in his path one night. I can't remember what happened, but I get a call from my uncle after he had said something very concerning. And my uncle, I believe, was in New York at the time because he's a tattoo artist. He's working in a shop out there. And he said, I don't know what's happening, but it's, your dad's saying that he's going to kill your grandmother and that he's on his way to her house with a shotgun right now. And I can't get a hold of him again. He's not picking up the phone. And I just remember freaking out and spiraling and getting ready to go into my truck, and I was going to go kill him then. I didn't care what I had to do. If I had to steal money, if I had to steal someone's gun, I was going to make that drive down south, and I was going to kill him, even if it meant killing myself. And I said as much. And my aunt, she was a paramedic at the time, she said, if you get into that car, I'm going to have all of my friends in the police and ambulance and fire, everyone is going to be looking for you. And if you have to go sit it out in jail and breathe for a night, that is what you will do. So she kept that shit from happening. That was one of the blow-ups. He didn't wind up doing it. He still abuses her to this day. But the second time, a really bad thing that I think my dad put into me was that whenever I felt fearful or scared or intimidated in any way, I had to make myself meaner and scarier than anybody else. So whenever I started receiving threats one day of just the usual bullshit, I said, all right, you dirty old fuck, let me throw you a curveball. I'm going to slit your fucking throat. Okay? I'm going to slit your fucking throat, and I'm going to sit there, and I'm going to make you watch while I rape my fucking stepmother with a butcher knife, because at that point I believe she was complicit in this, when in reality the poor thing was being abused and being manipulated into a lot of this. These are things I said. And those were just a few of the threats. Because I had to be the meanest monkey. So after that, as fucked up as it was, this man who had sent me all these death threats under the sun sent a picture of a statement that they were sending to the police on a police website. And less than 30 minutes later, as I'm freaking out and panicking about this, police lights in red and blue are flashing inside my house from the outside. I go cold. I'm freaking out. I'm like, fuck. I had just told my cousins about what had just happened and I showed them the screenshot, and they're like, what the hell is happening, dude? What the hell is happening? And I remember just taking a deep breath, turning the doorknob, opening the door, putting my head down, and I just walked into the middle of the lawn with my hands in the air. I get to the middle of the lawn. I look up. Similar to the tweaker in the earlier story, the woman across the street had a heart attack. They were not there for me. Poor thing, she was a very sweet lady, but they are literally there loading her body, well, I don't know if it was a body at that point, but they're loading her up into the back of an ambulance, and I'm just sitting there like, everything okay? Like, I go up and I walk and I check upon them. But I just remember being like, what the fuck was that? And I would just walk in, and my cousin, he'd been crying a little bit, I think, and he was just like, man, whenever you showed me that report, I was just praying for you. He's like, I just went to my room, I got on my hands and knees, and for the first time I prayed. And I appreciate that prayer because I think it saved my ass. But a lot of horror stories like that I could go into more, so many more. Throw a couple more out there. Learning about my father's racist past, along with his interest in groups like the Aryans. One thing that he did that I've mentioned once before on the channel, he convinced me that my grandfather was the head of the KKK. I didn't even believe this until after I had gone on Buck Angel. My mom had sent the interview to my grandmother, and we had a discussion. We had a huge opening up about it. My grandfather couldn't have been further from. But because he wanted to hide his associations, he made me believe that this man, who was one of the father figures that was there to fill the void and show me what it meant to be a fucking man, was a Nazi. You know, there was a man he lived next to at one point who either scratched him with his nail or threatened to scratch him and had HIV. By the end of that scuffle, the cops are called. My father is buck naked on a roof with the police light shining down on him from a helicopter with a machete in his hand, talking about how he's going to go and chop up that little monkey. Or a lone little teenage black girl walking down the streets of downtown Yoakum in the middle of the night, who has a drunk man stumble onto her with a big knife, says, "You better start running, bitch. I'm going to rape you." That's who my father was. That's who my father is. My father's the devil. But I think the point of these stories that I'm sharing right now is to show you, if you look at the rest of this channel, did the apple fall so far from the tree? I don't say these stories as a boo-hoo, woe is me, someone needs to go take a look at my daddy, he's an evil man. I'm doing it because I want to understand my psychology. I want other people to understand my story, and for people to realize, like, most of the people that I got involved with in Antifa, these are the stories that we built our relationships on. The politics were there, to be sure, but the broken familial systems and the commonality in stories like this are what build these groups. I would often feel like I couldn't talk around about these fucked up stories in front of other people within the group because their stories were infinitely worse, to harrowing degrees. So I just want to share this so that maybe we can think about things a little bit differently. Try to step into somebody else's shoes, see the evil of the world, to realize that the sins of the father really can be passed down to the son. But what the fuck do we do about it at that point? Because if I allowed it, if I at any point in my life allow it, then I'm damned to hell just like my father.
Loving is a boy's best friend until that mother finds another friend to spend life with. It's kinda tough because it's not a choice that you get to make, but no matter how you feel, you gotta just live with. Your mama's boyfriend seemed to be a real cool guy at the start. He used to always bring a gift when he would get out the car. Sometimes a game, sometimes a ball, sometimes some trading cards. He used to tell your mama, lighten up, you're being too hard. But you got older, he got drunker, mama so deep in love. They finally tied the knot forever, but that wasn't enough. The first time that it ever happened, you were late for the bus. He was so pissed he had to drive instead of catching a buzz. Once you left and started driving, he just switched it all up. He said to lift both of your arms and push you right in the gut. He grabbed your neck and said, "You're dead, you ever miss it again." Yeah, he was swerving, you was pleading, so we did it again. You almost puked, but if you did, you knew he'd kill you right then. Yeah, he could smell the fear off you, all you could smell was the gin. You thought the gin must be the reason why his temper is thin. You went to school and brushed it off, but you could not hold it in. Your head was racing, trying to figure out how all this just happened. You never saw him act like this, you were surprised by his actions. You tried to tell yourself it's cool, yeah, it won't happen again. But you've been wrong so many times, so what's the difference with this? Your teacher asked you what was wrong, but you just lied and said nothing. I guess she knew that you were bluffing, so she called mama's husband. She started saying you've been quiet and been distant on subjects, and that you wasn't quite yourself, plus you was holding your stomach. So when you got back home from school, you figured you was in trouble, but you would never start to guess you'd be involved in a scuffle. You would never think your mom would end up beat for your actions, but I assume that's just what happens when you piss off an addict. You were small but did your best, but you and mom couldn't match it. Yeah, he was drunker than this morning, which is why he was laughing. He was having fun abusing, he was hella ecstatic. Your mom was bloodier than you, this fucking family's tragic. Over time it never stopped, you call it routine practice. So your mama started gambling to try and just mask it. All the pain, all the abuse, she knew she'd be in a casket. Both your lives forever changed, way worse than you could imagine. Yeah, this shit went on for years until you finally just had it. Used to plot inside your room, you hated him with a passion. Fantasizing about revenge that would be so everlasting. Say the same words every day cause you would never get past it. He touched me one more time, I'll be the skull till I smash it. Wrap his body up in plastic, then just dump it in acid. Those were thoughts you always had, yeah, you would sit and imagine. Maybe Sunday is the day you grab a gun and just blast him. Settle down, mama, please don't worry. Pray to God cause he knows what's going on. If we leave, I know that he can't hurt us. Be strong, mama, please keep holding on. You say we gotta stay, but I don't believe you. I'd run away, but I can't leave you alone with him because he's gon' kill you. So I just gotta do this on my own. You're 42 and you done been through it all. Drug addiction, 2 divorces, kids that don't even call. But then you met the woman of your dreams and never once judged you. Was the life you always wanted even way back in high school. So you met her only son and was excited to raise him, cause his father never wanted to, so you could replace him. Things were great a couple years, but habits never do die. You started drinking more and more, was getting harder to hide. But she would look the other way cause you would work and provide a decent life for both their son and her with bread on the side. But lately she been kinda distant, focused more on her son. So you've been drinking more and more until it ain't even fun. A strong addiction mixed with anger causing shit to go bad. You're not confused on why you hate the son that you never had. He's getting older, growing bigger, soon he'll be a grown man. You start to roughen up the kid to show him how to use hands. But when you drink you're more aggressive, plus you're sending a message. Decided love don't overstress you, you're just teaching a lesson. He needs a father figure in his life through his adolescence. You're just a good ass fucking dude, you always give him your presents. But today he missed the bus again, that's twice in a week. You notice that he's getting lazy, thinking life is just sweet. His mother coddles him, so you believe she's raising him weak. Yeah, you're the only man he has, so man, you gotta just teach. You finally snapped and took your anger issues right out on him. You punched him over and again, cause you love feeling the sin. You know with every strike you make, it brings you back as a kid, just like your father did to you when you were being a shit. But now the more you think of it, the more you get yourself pissed. You went from slapping across the head to quickly closing your fist. You start to get used to the thrill, so this shit goes on for years. But now he's getting to the point where he's not starting to fear. Your wifey hates you, but you tell her that you'll kill if she leaves. So now you feel the pressure from her son at night while you sleep. So one day you're just drinking heavy, watching TV on Sunday. Your wife is visiting her mom, but you're at home with her son. You start to hear him down the stairs, but you don't think nothing of it. But then you look and see his hand and that he's holding your gun. You asked him where'd he get your weapon, he says right where you left it. He's got some tears all in his eyes, but he's not sad, he's aggressive. He tells you lift your fucking arms and puts the gun to your stomach. He starts repeating all the times you left him bloody and busted. Tells you everything you know is true, now you start to plead. He hits your mouth with half the barrel, now you're starting to bleed. He takes a swig from out your bottle, lifts you off of your seat. He tells you this is where it ends and sets you down on your knees. He says you never were a father, you were just a disease. He puts the gun inside your mouth and says the bus gonna leave. He says don't worry, you won't miss it cause you're good with instruction. He says now look into the mirror by the wall where your lunch is. Staring at yourself, regretting all the bruises and punches that you laid down on the boy way back since he was a munchkin. Now he tells you say goodbye before you turn into nothing. And then he says now wave goodbye to mama's piece of shit husband. So you wave but then you realize you were never a husband. Yeah, you were never a father, yeah, you amounted to nothing. No, this boy isn't a bitch, you realize you were the bitch. Yeah, this boy would never hit, it was just you that would hit. You finally came to realize now that it was you that was sick. But before you can admit, you hear your own gun click. Settle down, mama, please don't worry. Pray to God cause he knows what's going on. If we leave, I know that he can't hurt us. Be strong, mama, please keep holding on. You say we gotta stay, but I don't believe you. I'd run away, but I can't leave you alone with him, because he's gon' kill you. So I just gotta do this on my own.